What's up, everybody? My name is Rockin' Ralph. How you doing? Mr. Shoe normally has his channel here to read you guys stories, but he's actually a little under the weather tonight, so Rockin' Ralph is here to give it to you. Woohoo! Rock and roll, baby! Yeah! All right. So tonight's book is Lost in Dinosaur World. Wow, that's some heavy stuff. Dinosaurs going all over. Woo! Yeah! Oh! Woo! Anyway, Mr. Shoe told me sometimes this Mr. Olaf shows up, so I'm gonna get that on lockdown. Like, that guy is not getting in on our story time. I don't want him messing it up. But if Mr. Shoe's feeling better, he might show up. He's taking his vitamin C. He's drinking a lot of fluids. And he's just, kind of napping right now. But we'll see. Anywho, all right, let's begin. Lost in Dinosaur World. And this is by, gotta lower my glasses, Jeffrey T. Williams, illustrated by Boris Svensson. I hope I said your name right, Boris, because my vocabulary is not as eloquent as Mr. Shoes is, because I'm too busy rocking and rolling. Yeah! Woo! Anywho, all right, let's start this story. All right, okay, let's make sure the lights are on, everything's set. Okay. Oh, wait. Hold on one sec. I think I hear something. Do you guys hear that? Oh, man, is this Mr. Olaf? Hold on, I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. Let me go take care of this. Oh, hey guys, what's up? I just woke up. That was me knocking on the door. I just woke up. Feeling a lot better, and I'm ready to read your book. I got this from Ralph and Rockin' Ralph, and let's go. He had to go to a rock and roll show. He had a show to go to. He plays guitar in a band. He's not very good though. He's not very good. Don't tell him I said he's pretty bad. Anyway, all right, let's start this out. Lost in Dinosaur World. This is a longer book, and this video might be in a couple parts. We'll see. And you guys always can play part 1, and at a later time go to part 2, or if I do it all in one video, pause it and resume learning and finishing it at a later date. So, Dinosaur World. Timothy McDunn was dressed for adventure. He was wearing hiking boots, rugged-looking pants, a camouflage-colored shirt, and an old floppy hat borrowed from Grandpa McDunn. He had binoculars hanging around his neck, and he was just buckling a survival kit to his belt when his mother came in. She smiled. "We're just going to Dinosaur World, Tim, not to the jungle or someplace dangerous." "You never can tell," was all he said. Out in the hallway, Mr. McDunn was looking for something. "We can't leave the Dinosaur World until I find my coat." Mary McDunn, Tim's sister, opened the closet door. "Here it is, Dad. Can we go now?" "As soon as I find my keys." Mary reached into the coat pocket and handed her father the keys to the car. Thanks. Now, just one more thing. Where's your little brother?" Mary opened the closet door again. "Well, he's not in here." Mr. McDunn smiled. "Very funny." Just then, Tim and Mrs. McDunn came into the room. "There you are, ready for your first visit to Dinosaur World, Tim." "You bet!" Outside, Dad started the car. "What's the first thing you want to do?" Dad started the car. Did you guys know that Dad drove a very, very high-performance vehicle with a big engine? Starting the car. Ring. Woo! Loud car. So, whoa, it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. All right, all right. Ugh. All right. Time to put on my hat. Anywho, so Dad started the car, and Tim didn't hesitate for a second before going, "Ride the TRex Express." "Of course," said his father. "And then I want to see an Allosaur." Mary McDunn laughed. "Somehow I knew you'd want to see the scariest animal in the park." And this is the logo for Dinosaur World. Ooh. All right. Dinosaur World looked and sounded exactly the way Tim thought it should. Tall pines rising overhead, along with exotic ferns, ginkgo, and monkey puzzle trees, giant pterosaurs and pteranodons circling in the blue sky, their eerie, high-pitched squeals carrying across the distance, roars, grunts, and howls coming from deep in the forest, made by who knows what kind of wild creatures, rumblings and puffs of gray smoke and steam curling from the top of a small volcano. The girl at the entrance gave them each a ticket and a beautiful color map of the park. Then she handed Mr. McDunn a small box with an antenna. "Here's your radio guide. Any questions you have about the animals, he'll be able to answer. If you're walking, stay on the marked paths. If you're riding the TRex Express, keep your arms and legs inside. And please don't feed the dinosaurs." So I'm guessing this radio looked something like this, but a little bit smaller maybe. Let's pretend this is the radio with a nice little handle and everything. And we'll pretend it's cordless. There's not going to be a cord on it. So we'll just pop that cord out. And we got our little radio. Woo! Rockin' Ralph would love this radio, but he just played heavy metal and rock and roll. All right. So, don't feed the dinosaurs. Tim laughed. Who could ever get close enough to a dinosaur to feed it? And here we go. Here are the pteranodons, pterodactyls. And there's the family. They're excited to be at Dinosaur Park. Woohoo! Or Dinosaur World, sorry. Dad asked, "Where to first?" And Tim shouted, "The TRex Express." And Mary said, "The petting zoo." But a small, thin-sounding voice said, "I'd suggest the Protoceratops hatchlings." Tim looked surprised. Who said that? "The radio guide," Mary told her brother. "Listen. If you're interested in the family zoo, on the way to the nursery, it's right next to the petting zoo on the way to the TRex Express. 10 of the eggs hatched last week. Szechuan, the mother Protoceratops, is very proud of her babies." Tim was getting impatient. "I don't want to see a bunch of eggs." "Tim, it won't be but a few minutes, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of exciting things for you to do today." Little did Mr. McDunn know how true that was. Suddenly, Tim stopped and pointed. "Wow, look at that!" The biggest animal he had ever seen had wandered over to some nearby trees and was noisily eating the leaves. "That's a Brachiosaur," their guide explained. "His name means arm lizard. See how his front legs are taller than his hind legs? Like a huge giraffe's. He stands over 40 feet tall from head to tail. He's over 90 feet long and weighs more than 100 tons, as much as 20 big elephants." Tim was looking through his binoculars at the green and yellow colored giant. "He's even bigger than an apatosaur." He's the biggest land animal that ever lived. "Ah, here we are now." They entered a large glass dome building and found themselves inside the Dinosaur World nursery. And here is the Brachiosaur. Wow, look how big the guy is. Looks like he's an herbivore. He's eating some plants. Got a long tail. The air was warm and humid, and the sunlight coming through the glass roof lit the area with a soft yellow glow. It made an interesting scene. The McDunn family standing at the nursery window watching the dinosaur family. The radio guy's voice echoed strangely in the room. "Protoceratops are the earliest known horned dinosaurs. They're like Triceratops, but not nearly as big." Tim wasn't very impressed. "They sure don't have very big horns." He watched the 6-foot-long, 3,000-pound mother. Szechuan nuzzle a few of the football-sized eggs that lay in the nest while 10 tiny babies squirmed and squealed in the sand nearby. And to give you guys an example, I'm 6'5". So I'm 5 inches taller or longer than the dinosaur here. And this is her with her eggs. And that's the family watching up above. So just to give you an idea, she's small, but for a dinosaur, but that's like pretty big. Nuzzle a few of the football-sized eggs that lay in the nest while 10 tiny babies squirmed and squealed in the sand nearby. Mary thought they were cute. Oh, look, they're so tiny. Mrs. McDunn looked at her daughter. No, absolutely not. You are not going to bring one of those home. I think it's about time to get on board the TRex Express, said Mr. McDunn. The TRex Express was one of the most popular attractions in the park. It was a train shaped like a like a fierce Tyrannosaurus Rex. People could buy tickets and ride through all the different areas where the dinosaurs lived, watching the huge animals from the safety and comfort of the train. Tim bought a ticket for the Super Tour, a journey through the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous eras, all the periods of time during which dinosaurs lived. He meant to see everything in one day. His mom and dad and sister just bought tickets through the Triassic. After that, Tim would be on his own. He was very excited. Finally, the whistle blew. Steam curled from the nose of the T-Rex engine, and he was off on his trip through Dinosaur World, comfortably inside one of the most ferocious carnivores ever to roam the earth. Look at that, guys. That's the TRex Express. Woo! Wowza. Wowza. That's a big train. All right. The train wound through the ancient Triassic landscape. On one side was the swamp that bordered Dinosaur Sea. Strangely, stunted trees and ferns poked up through the sand and mud. A crocodile, floating lazily in the water, hissed as they passed. A small pterosaur glided by, his long, leathery wings slowly flapping as he flew out over the sea to fish with his narrow, pelican-like beak. The train crossed a bridge and slowed near some rocks by the shore. Suddenly, several of the passengers screamed, and Mr. McDunn yelled, "Look out!" Tim looked quickly around and saw a giant spray of water erupt as a huge creature lunged onto the rocks right next to the train. The dinosaur landed on his big front flippers and gave a piercing cry. Tim was startled, but tried not to show it. "What is that?" "A nothosaur," the radio guide answered. "An amphibious reptile about 25 feet long. He lives part of the time in the water and part of the time on land, but he doesn't usually come this close to the train. Careful, don't lean too far out the window." Whoa, look at this thing. Woo! That's pretty fierce looking. The sea serpent's long curved neck swayed like a snake. The thin head came closer and closer until Tim could hear him breathe and see water dripping from his needle-sharp teeth. Then, without warning, the nothosaur gave another ear-splitting shriek and slipped back under the water, leaving the boy a little frightened and wondering how much excitement the rest of the trip would bring. On the other side of the train stretched a dry, rocky plain that looked like a prehistoric desert. As they slowed down, a lizard about 10 feet long slithered out from behind some big rocks. He had a tall sail, like a big fin, running all along his back. What kind of dinosaur is that? A Dimetrodon. Technically, because he has a different kind of bone structure, he's not really a dinosaur at all. Just a big lizard. Not like Godzilla, though. Is his sail only for decoration? No, Dimetrodons are ectothermic. That means cold-blooded. They need heat from the sun to live, but too much sun makes them overheat. So scientists think reptiles like the Dimetrodon use their sails to help regulate body temperature. Aren't dinosaurs what was that? Ectothermic. Thanks. Aren't they all cold-blooded too? Scientists used to think so, but after a lot of studying, they now think dinosaurs were warm-blooded or endothermic. Gee, just like people, Tim said. So here's the dinosaur. Look at its scales on the back. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I used to have the dinosaur, one of those dinosaurs like as a kid, the dinosaur toy. All right, the train stopped at the end of the Triassic tour, and Mr. and Mrs. McDunn and Mary got out. Mr. McDunn looked serious as he handed Tim the radio. This is your first trip here, so be very careful not to lose your guide. Whatever you need to know, just ask. And remember, no matter what happens, don't get off the train. Then they all waved goodbye. Tim watched until they disappeared from sight around a curve. He couldn't help feeling just a little lonesome as he continued his adventure. As the trip through the Jurassic started, he noticed the scenery changing. Plants grew thicker, more like a jungle. There were more palm trees, bigger ferns, even some pine trees. Several long-necked diplodocus were waiting at the shallow edge of the swamp, their huge tails stirring the muddy water from side to side. Diplodocus had very lightweight bones, so even though they were 80 or 90 feet long, they only weighed as much as a couple of elephants. And there's the Diplodocus. Whoa. See that, guys? Oh, yeah. They got really long tails. And this is... Let's look at the map. I got the map for Dinosaur World because I have inside connections. All right, so here we go. Look at this cool map. Dinosaur World. Wow, there's the volcano in the center. It's got the different periods. Pretty neat, guys. Pretty neat. All right, so that's the same map that our friend has. So let's see what Tim's up to now. Just then, as he listened to the guide, Tim did something that would change his whole day. He set the radio down. I'm just going to set this radio down over here. Or over here, actually. He set the radio down and on the windowsill, leaned out and lifted the binoculars to his eyes. I can't see the Diplodocus very well. Careful! But the guide's warning came too late. Oh no! Tim accidentally bumped the radio. It clattered down the embankment by the side of the tracks and came to rest almost under the tail of a huge stegosaur, where it made sputtering and buzzing noises. Not good. Here's the stegosaur it landed right next to. Sweet. Pretty cool. Almost without thinking, Tim jumped out and scrambled down the embankment. Passengers in the other cars were busy watching the Diplodocus, so no one saw him leave the train. In a few steps, he reached the radio. The 30-foot stegosaur was eating. Tim was close enough to touch her, so he did. Wouldn't you? He reached out and very softly touched one of her tree trunk-sized legs. The skin felt thick and wrinkled like an elephant's, but without any hair. A ripple went up the stegosaur's back, along the large bony plates used for defense against attacking carnivores. Her tail shook and the dangerous spikes on the end rattled ominously. She turned her head to look at the odd little human creature. Tim quickly pulled his hand back. He must not have looked very threatening because after a moment, the stegosaur went right on eating. Tim picked up the radio. It was dirty and the antenna was bent. He shook it and heard an electronic buzzing. Was it broken? Then he heard something else. Something that immediately made him forget the radio and the huge dinosaur. As he looked up, he saw the TRex Express disappear from sight down the tracks. The train was leaving without him. He scrambled, running along behind it, yelling, "Wait, hey, wait for me!" He stood panting, completely out of breath, helplessly watching as the train disappeared around a bend. A puff of smoke was the last thing he saw of the TRex Express. From far away, a lonely whistle echoed back down the empty tracks. Without any warning, almost by accident it seemed, he was alone, lost in the middle of Dinosaur World. All right. In those first few moments, Tim came very close to being afraid. The stegosaur had stopped chewing and was looking at him. The huge Diplodocus had twisted their long necks around, were gazing in his direction. From the depths of the jungle, some ferocious creature roared, and Tim could hear it crashing through the undergrowth. He hoped it wasn't coming his way. The sounds grew more distant, and soon the dinosaurs went back to eating. Tim sighed with relief and began thinking about what to do next. Bzzz, said a little voice. Tim held the radio up. Bzzz. Sure enough, sounds were coming from it. He jiggled it. What happened? Where are we? I accidentally dropped you off the train. I got off you, and the train left without me. The guide moaned, oh no, how fast can you turn? Why? Because you don't want to get caught out here when the Allosaur... The words faded away in a crackle of static. Tim shook it. What? Caught out here when the Allosaur what? But nothing more came out. He began walking along the tracks, keeping a sharp eye out for anything that stood over 20 feet tall, had teeth like steak knives, and a disposition like a bucket of rattlesnakes. In other words, anything that looked like an Allosaur. And here's Tim. We got some dinosaurs here. Here's the empty tracks. And this is part 1.